I was 19 years old when I stepped off that Higgins boat onto Omaha Beach. June 6, 1944. The water was red. I mean actually red, like someone had dumped buckets of paint into the ocean. But it wasn't paint. I knew that. Everyone knew that. The guy in front of me, a kid from Ohio whose name I never learned, took a round through his throat before his boots even touched the sand. He just fell forward into the surf, and we had to step over him to get to the beach. That's what they don't tell you about D-Day. They don't tell you about the stepping over. My name is Tom Garrett, or it was back then. Now I'm just another old man who can't sleep through the night. But in the summer of 1944, I was Private First Class Thomas Garrett, 29th Infantry Division. And my best friend was a kid from Pittsburgh named Danny Sullivan. We'd met at Fort Meade during basic training, bunked next to each other, and somehow survived the crossing on the HMS Empire Javelin without getting too seasick. Danny had red hair, freckles all over his face, and this laugh that sounded like a donkey braying. The other guys used to give him shit about it, but I loved that laugh. Meant he was still alive, still finding something funny in all this. We made it off Omaha Beach, both of us. That's the thing people don't understand when they watch those movies or read those books. Making it off the beach was just the beginning. The real war, the grinding, exhausting, terrifying war that came after. In the hedgerows, in the villages with names I couldn't pronounce, in the fields that looked peaceful until you noticed the bodies. By the end of June, we'd pushed inland about 10 miles from the coast. Our company had lost maybe 40% of the guys who'd landed with us. New replacements kept showing up, fresh-faced kids who looked at us like we were already ghosts. Danny and I had this thing we did. Every night, if we both made it through, we'd tap our helmets together twice. Just a little ritual. Meant we'd survived another day. Meant we'd try again tomorrow. The hedgerows in Normandy aren't like anything we have back in the States. They're ancient, thick walls of earth and roots and brambles, some of them 8 feet tall, 10 feet thick. The Germans use them like fortifications. They'd dig in on one side, wait for us to come through the gaps, then cut us down. Every field was a potential killing zone. Every opening in the hedgerow could have a machine gun nest on the other side. Our CO was a lieutenant named Morrison, a West Point guy who actually seemed to know what he was doing. He'd been a reservist before the war, taught history at some college in Virginia. He had this way of staying calm under fire that made you feel like maybe, just maybe, you might actually survive this thing. Our squad leader was Sergeant Vincent Kozlowski, a Polish kid from Chicago who'd been in since before Pearl Harbor. Koz knew the gear, knew the tactics, and most importantly, knew when to keep your head down. On July 8, 1944, we got orders to advance through a sector near St. Lo. The objective was to secure a crossroads about 2 clicks west of the town. Intelligence said the Germans had pulled back, that the area was mostly clear. Just a clean-up operation, they said. In and out. We moved out at dawn. 12 of us in the squad. Me, Danny, Koz, a kid from Texas named Bobby Ray, a medic we called Doc Phillips, and 7 other guys whose faces I can still see, but whose names have blurred together over the years. The morning was beautiful. I remember that specifically. The sun was just coming up, burning off the mist from the fields. Birds were singing. For about 10 seconds, you could almost forget there was a war on. We moved in a staggered column through the hedgerows. Koz had us spread out, at least 5 yards between each man. Basic infantry tactics. The guy in front checks for wires. The guy behind him covers. You move slow, you move careful, you stay alive. The field we were crossing looked like every other field in Normandy. Grass about knee-high, some wildflowers, a few scattered shell craters from previous bombardments. The hedgerow on the far side was maybe 100 yards away. In peacetime, you could walk it in a minute. In war, it took us 20 minutes to cover half that distance. Danny was about 15 yards ahead of me, just to my left. He was moving the way Koz had taught us, slow and deliberate, watching where he put his feet. We'd all heard the stories about mines. The Germans had been seeding the area with Teller mines, S-mines, improvised explosives made from artillery shells. The brass kept telling us to watch for disturbed earth, tripwires, anything that looked out of place. But after weeks of constant movement, constant exhaustion, it all started to look the same. I was watching Danny's back, covering his advance, when he stopped. He'd spotted something. I saw him crouch down, examining the ground in front of him. My heart started beating faster. Protocol was you didn't move if you thought you'd found a mine. You called it out. You waited for someone who knew what they were doing. "Cars," Danny called out, his voice careful and controlled. "Think I got something here." Cars moved up, low and slow. I stayed where I was, rifle ready, eyes scanning the tree line ahead. Doc was somewhere behind me. The rest of the squad had frozen in place. I couldn't hear what Cos was saying to Danny, but I saw him examining the ground. After maybe 30 seconds, Cos gave a hand signal. "False alarm, keep moving." Danny stood up. I saw him take a breath, the tension going out of his shoulders. He looked back at me and gave me that crooked smile of his, the one that said, "Close one." I nodded. He turned back toward the hedgerow. He took one step, then another. On the third step, I heard the click. It's a sound I've heard every night for 78 years. A small metallic click, like someone snapping their fingers underwater. The sound of a firing pin releasing. The sound of a German S-mine activating. Danny froze, completely still. I could see it in his body language, the sudden rigidity. He knew what he'd just done. We all knew. S-mines, the Germans called them Shrapnelminen. We called them bouncing Bettys. They're set in the ground with a pressure trigger. When you step on one, you hear that click. That's the initial charge going off. It launches the main canister about 3 feet into the air on a small post. Then the main charge detonates, sending hundreds of steel balls and shrapnel in every direction. The kill radius is about 30 feet. The injury radius is double that. From the click to the detonation, you have maybe 3 seconds. Maybe 4 if you're lucky. Danny looked back at me. His face had gone completely white. Not pale, white. Like every drop of blood had drained out of him in an instant. "Tommy," he said. His voice was steady, steadier than mine would have been. "Tommy, I stepped on one." I couldn't move. My feet were frozen to the ground. My brain was screaming at me to do something, run to him, pull him away, something. But I knew the math. I'd seen what these mines did. I'd seen the aftermath. There was nothing I could do. Nothing anyone could do. Cos was yelling something. I couldn't process the words. The whole world had narrowed down to Danny's face, 15 yards away, and that terrible knowledge in his eyes. "Get down!" Cos was screaming. "Everyone down!" I dropped. Instinct. Training. I hit the ground and covered my head with my hands. Through my fingers, I could see Danny. He was still standing there, his boot still on the trigger. He knew if he lifted his foot, the mine would fire. He knew he was already dead, but he was standing there, giving the rest of us time to get clear. "Tell my mum I love her," Danny said. His voice carried across the field, clear as a bell. "Tell her I was thinking about her meatballs." He was smiling when he said it. Actually smiling, making a joke even then, even knowing he had maybe 2 seconds left. Tell her they were the best damn meatballs in Pittsburgh. I opened my mouth to say something. I don't know what. Goodbye. I love you. We'll tap helmets in hell, something, anything, but I never got the words out. Danny lifted his foot. The mine fired. I felt the shockwave before I heard the explosion. A wall of pressure that hit me like a physical thing, even pressed flat against the ground. The sound came after, a deafening crack that seemed to split the sky. Then the rain of debris. Dirt, grass. Other things I don't want to describe. The ringing in my ears lasted for hours afterward, days maybe. But through the ringing I could hear someone screaming, high-pitched animal sounds. It took me a while to realize it was me. When I finally looked up, there was nothing left of Danny. I mean nothing recognizable. Just a crater where he'd been standing, about 3 feet deep and a scattered radius of red. The mine had done exactly what it was designed to do. Doc was already moving, crawling toward the crater, but Cos grabbed him and pulled him back. There was nothing to treat, nothing to save. Danny had been there and now he wasn't. That fast, that complete. We stayed in that field for another 10 minutes, partly because Cos needed to mark the minefield so other units wouldn't blunder into it, partly because we were all in shock. Bobby Ray was crying. One of the new guys was vomiting. I just lay there in the grass, staring at the sky, trying to understand what had just happened. Cos finally got us moving. We had to clear the area, had to complete the mission. That's what the army does. Someone dies, you keep going. You deal with it later, or you don't deal with it at all. We took the crossroads an hour later. No resistance. The Germans had pulled back days ago. Intelligence had been right. It was just a clean-up operation. In and out. We didn't recover Danny's body. There wasn't enough left to recover. That night, back at Company HQ in a shot-up farmhouse, Cos filled out the paperwork. Killed in action, July 8, 1944, near Saint-Lô, France. Stepped on an S-mine during an advance. Death was instantaneous. They asked me if I wanted to write the letter to his mother. Next of kin notification would come through official channels, but sometimes the CO let friends write personal letters. I tried. I sat there with a pencil and paper for 2 hours, trying to find words. But what do you say? Your son made a joke about meatballs and then he exploded. Your son sacrificed himself to save the rest of us? Your son died for a crossroads that didn't even matter. I never sent that letter. I still have the blank page somewhere, folded up in a box with my other war shit. The company kept pushing forward. We made it to Saint-Lô by the 18th. The fighting was brutal. House to house, room to room. We lost more guys. Bobby Ray took a sniper round through the lung on July 22nd. Doc Phillips got hit by artillery on the 29th. The squad I'd started with on Omaha Beach was basically gone by the time we broke out into open country. But every night, wherever we were, whatever hole we were sleeping in, I'd tap my helmet twice, just me. Alone. Like Danny was still there, tapping back. Like we were still keeping our promise. I made it through the rest of the war. We pushed across France, through Belgium, into Germany. I was at the Battle of the Bulge, survived that frozen hell. I was there when we crossed the Rhine. I saw the camps. I saw things that make what happened to Danny look merciful by comparison. I came home in November of 1945, got off a troop ship in New York, took a train to Pennsylvania, walked through my front door like I'd just been on a long trip. My mom cried. My dad shook my hand. My little sister wanted to hear war stories. I told her it was boring, mostly. A lot of walking and waiting. She looked disappointed. I never went to Pittsburgh. I never knocked on Mrs. Sullivan's door and told her about the meatballs. I couldn't. Every time I thought about it, I'd see Danny's face, see him smiling, hear those last words. I'd feel like a fraud. What right did I have to be standing there, alive, when her son was scattered across a field in France? The army gave Danny a Purple Heart, sent it to his mother with a nice letter about sacrifice and heroism. I heard she kept it on the mantle until she died in 1963. Never remarried, never got over it. How could she? I tried to get over it. I really did. Got a job at a steel mill, met a girl, got married, had 2 kids, built a life. From the outside, I was fine. A normal guy, a veteran who'd done his duty and moved on. But every night, I'd hear that click. Every night, I'd see him lift his foot. Every night, I'd hear him talk about meatballs. The dreams were the worst. In the dreams, I could move. I could run to him. I could pull him away. I could push him off the mine and take his place. I'd wake up sweating, reaching for him, and he'd be gone. Always gone. My wife tried to understand. She really did. But how do you explain to someone who wasn't there? How do you make them understand that you're living with a ghost? That every decision you make, every moment of happiness, feels like a betrayal of the kid who died so you could live? I started drinking in the early 50s. Not a lot. Just enough to quiet the click in my head. Just enough to soften the edges of the memory. By the 60s, I was drinking every night. By the 70s, my wife had left and my kids wouldn't talk to me. By the 80s, I was retired, alone, spending my days in a studio apartment, waiting to die. I went to France once. 1994, 50th anniversary of D-Day. They had all these ceremonies, all these speeches about the greatest generation and the price of freedom. I stood in the American cemetery at Normandy, looking at the white crosses stretching to the horizon. 9,000 of them. Danny wasn't there. His name is on the wall of the missing, the guys they never found, the guys who got blown apart too badly to identify. I found the field where it happened. Took me 2 days of searching, but I found it. The hedgerows are still there. The grass is still knee-high in summer. There's no marker, no monument, nothing to show that a 19-year-old kid from Pittsburgh died there 50 years ago. I stood in that field, and I cried. Really cried for the first time since it happened. I cried for Danny. I cried for his mother. I cried for all the things he never got to do, never got married, never had kids, never ate another one of his mom's meatballs, never laughed that stupid donkey laugh again. And I cried because I was still here, still carrying it, still hearing that click every goddamn night. I'm 97 years old now. Most of the guys I served with are dead. The 29th Infantry Division holds reunions, but there's almost nobody left to attend. We're the last ones, the last witnesses. When we're gone, it'll all just be history. Dates and battles and casualty figures. But I need you to understand something. I need you to know that it wasn't just numbers, it wasn't just strategy and tactics and the march of history. It was Danny Sullivan from Pittsburgh, who loved his mother's meatballs, who laughed like a donkey, who gave us 3 extra seconds by standing on that mine instead of running. I need you to know that he was 19 years old, that he'd never been with a girl, that he wanted to be a teacher after the war, that his favorite color was blue, that he was terrified of heights, but jumped out of that Higgins boat anyway because that's what you did. I need you to know that he didn't die for democracy or freedom or any of that shit they put in the speeches. He died because some German engineer designed a better mine, because intelligence missed a minefield, because war is random and brutal and it doesn't care about your dreams or your mother's meatballs. They gave me a Bronze Star for actions near St. Lo. I never knew why. I didn't do anything brave that day. I just survived. I laid in the grass and covered my head and let my best friend die alone. I've got the medal in a drawer somewhere. Never looked at it twice. What's it worth? What's any of it worth? Every Veterans Day, people thank me for my service. They shake my hand. They buy me coffee. They call me a hero. I smile and nod and say thank you. But inside, I'm thinking about Danny. I'm thinking about how he's the hero, and he's been dead for 78 years, and nobody knows his name. I went to a high school once, gave a talk about World War II. The kids asked me if I killed anyone. They wanted to know about combat, about shooting Germans, about what it felt like to be in battle. I told them it was mostly walking and being scared. They looked bored. A girl in the front row asked me what the worst thing about the war was. I almost told her, almost said it was watching my best friend explode into red mist on a beautiful July morning. Almost told her about the click, about the meatballs, about the 78 years of nights I've spent hearing his last words, but I didn't. I said the worst thing was the food. I got a laugh, kept it light. That's what they wanted. I'm dying now. Cancer. The doctors give me maybe 6 months, maybe less. I should be relieved. I should be ready. I've lived a long life. Longer than Danny ever got. Longer than most of the guys I served with. But I'm terrified. Not of dying. I'm terrified of what comes after. Because what if there's nothing? What if I die and that's it? And Danny's been nothing but bones in French soil for 78 years, and I never got to tell him I'm sorry. Sorry for not moving faster. Sorry for not saving him. Sorry for living when he didn't. Sorry for all of it. Or worse, what if there is something after? What if I die and Danny's there and he's still 19, still has that stupid grin, still wants to talk about meatballs? What do I say to him? How do I explain 78 years? I tap my helmet every night, still. Even now, even dying. 2 taps. Our ritual. Our promise. I made it through another day, Danny. I'm still here. I'm still carrying you. People ask me what I want my legacy to be, what I want to be remembered for. I don't care about legacy. I don't care about being remembered. I just want one thing. I want someone to know that Danny Sullivan existed, that he lived, that he mattered, that he made a joke about meatballs before he died, and it was the bravest goddamn thing I ever saw. I want someone to know that he wasn't just a name on a wall. He was real. He was my friend. He was the best of us. And I want someone to know that the war didn't end on May 8th, 1945. Not for me. It's still going. Every night I'm still in that field. Every night I hear that click. Every night I watch him lift his foot. Every night I hear him say, "Tell her they were the best damn meatballs in Pittsburgh." And every night I wish I'd said goodbye. I wish I'd told him I loved him. I wish I'd been the one standing on that mine. But I wasn't. He was. And I've spent 78 years trying to understand why, trying to make sense of it, trying to earn the life he gave me. I don't think I ever did. I don't think I ever could. Some debts you can't repay, some ghosts you can't outrun, some nights you can't sleep through, some clicks you hear forever. My name is Tom Garrett. I'm 97 years old. I'm dying of cancer in a VA hospital in Pennsylvania. And 78 years ago, I watched my best friend step on a mine in Normandy. I still hear his last words every night. I always will, until the day I die, and maybe not even then. Because that's what war does. It doesn't just kill the people who die. It kills pieces of everyone who survives. It kills the part of you that could sleep, the part that could laugh without feeling guilty, the part that could watch a beautiful July morning without thinking about minefields. Danny died in 3 seconds. I've been dying for 78 years. They don't tell you that in the speeches. They don't mention that in the history books. They don't put that on the monuments. But it's the truth. And somebody needs to know it. Somebody needs to remember. Not just what happened, but what it cost, what it took, what it left behind. Somebody needs to know that every name on that wall was a person, had a mother, had dreams, had a favorite color, had a stupid laugh that sounded like a donkey, had a friend who spent almost 8 decades wishing they'd said goodbye. I tap my helmet twice, even now, even here, even dying. 2 taps, for Danny, for Pittsburgh, for meatballs, for everything we lost in that field, and everything I've carried since.